Good morning from Adventureland. It is Sunday, March 1st, and it is Adventureland Day. So today we're doing something a little bit different. I am dressed a little more vintage style than I usually am, and I brought a camera that looks a little more vintage style than usual. It's my old M1X and my 12-200. You've seen this stuff, but the new part is this flash. This is the Godox Lux Master flash, and I bought it because A, it looks cool and retro, and B, I don't do enough flash work and portrait work, so I want to learn to get better at flash work and at portrait work. So today, I'm going to figure out this flash. I've got the X3 Pro transmitter, and we're going to take Adventureland Day portraits of all the people today who are dressed up in their Adventureland exploring best. And I'm also going to vlog about all the other stuff we're going to do. So stay tuned. This is going to be a fun one. Back when I used to shoot portraits, I didn't have some of the cool technology that's available now, things like high-speed sync flash. I didn't have that. I didn't even know what that was. Maybe you don't know what that is either. I'm gonna tell you. So if you've never heard of high-speed sync flash, it's basically a way of allowing your camera to use flash at shutter speeds higher than the synchronization speed that you would normally be able to get away with. What's synchronization speed, you ask, or sync speed, or X-sync? You'll hear them all mentioned in different photography sources. Basically, when your camera shutter opens, there are two curtains for your shutter. So when you press the shutter, one curtain goes up and begins to expose the sensor, and then another curtain will close. And so if you take an exposure longer than 1/250th of a second usually, that means both curtains are going to be open long enough for your entire sensor to be exposed at once. And so with one burst of the strobe, your entire sensor is illuminated. What happens if you start increasing your shutter speed beyond that speed, maybe a 500th of a second? What's happening now is that first curtain drops, and then the second curtain starts to come down as your flash fires. And so you will have a dark band at the bottom or at the top of your frame if you're using a traditional curtain style shutter. What high-speed sync does, it actually fires out multiple pulses of light faster than you can see. But now if I have a 1,000th of a second and that little strip of exposed sensor between the two curtains is moving down my sensor, the flash is firing multiple times to make sure that the subject stays illuminated evenly for that entire time. So you can take 1,000th of a second shots, 4,000th of a second shots, and still have the subject illuminated correctly by the flash. So you get that by first turning your flash off and finding the shutter speed that lets you get the background exposure that you want. And then you turn on your flash and power your flash to light your subject. We have a lot of brightly lit theme park stuff in the background, a lot of concrete, a lot of brick, a lot of rock work. Backgrounds that might be a little bit distracting. And so high-speed sync is going to allow me to speed up my shutter speed to make that background get a little bit darker and a little bit less distracting, and then the flash is going to illuminate my subject. That's the goal. Let's see how it actually works in practice. So here are some of the photos that I was able to make. Thank you all very much to the people who allowed me to feature your photos in this video. For a little bit of extra fun, I dialed some vintage JPEG settings into the camera as well. I used the Art 9 filter. It's a vintage sepia tone preset that just automatically processes a JPEG with a sepia tone finish. I can add a vignette in the camera, so right out of the camera, these are the kind of JPEGs I can get. And this was really fun because I can now connect the camera to my phone and have a processed JPEG all sepia toned and vignetted, and it looks nice and it looks vintage. It looks perfectly appropriate for this event, ready to go right away. So I can take someone's photo, immediately transfer the processed JPEG to my phone and just text it to the person or post it and tag them in real time. So that's something that's pretty exciting. I've been having a lot of fun with the JPEG presets. So this is something you're gonna probably see more of from me. Is I'm always gonna shoot raw, but the ability to have a quick and dirty, ready to go, straight out of the camera JPEG that looks good enough to post, that looks good enough to share is really enjoyable. If you know what you're doing, you can get this similar effect with a regular flash with a 1/250th of a second sync speed and a neutral density filter. You can use a neutral density filter to help dial down the exposure and still keep your camera within that sync speed, and then adjust the power output of your flash manually, and you can still get this same effect, but that requires a little know-how, it requires a little prep, it requires a filter. It requires dialing your exposure up and down. With this, it's just automatic. I just use my shutter speed to darken the background, and the flash literally does the rest. So I'm really, really happy with that. If you've been watching enough of these videos, you know that I'm all about low effort, high reward. So something that you can just strap onto the camera, put it in auto, and just snap away, and it's gonna work is a pretty cool thing to be able to do. Another cool thing that I found about the art filters in the Olympus and OM system cameras, on a lot of them, not only will it apply those settings to the JPEG image that you're capturing, if you record video while the camera is in that setting, it will not only apply the color filter, but it also seems for some of them to apply frame rate modifications. So when I use this Art 9 sepia tone filter, it appears to my eye that the video that it renders is a little jerky and a little choppy. It's not 24 frames per second, it's something less than that. There's something going on in there with some post-processing. It has that jittery, old-timey camera feel, which I think is really appropriate for, again, this Adventureland Day event. So a lot of my B-roll I've been shooting on the EM1X, and it's, I think it looks pretty good. It looks good on the back of the screen. We'll see how it looks on the big screen. At 11 o'clock, there was an Adventureland takeover of the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes. Rather than paddle a canoe, I decided to hang out on the shore by the barbecue restaurant and take photos and video of everyone dressed in their Adventureland Day gear, paddling canoes up and down the river. So that was really fun. Enjoy some old-timey photos and videos of that action. Then at 12:55, we all gathered at the flagpole in front of the train station for a massive group photo. And now it is 1 p.m. and the treasure hunt, the scavenger hunt, has officially begun. So it's all based on text messages. You'll receive a text message that asks you to go to a location in the park, find something or learn something or collect a piece of information, text it back in order to get your clue. So the first one, we are heading to the Walt and Mickey statue to count the number of light poles around the island. So the first challenge, you have to come here to the hub and count the number of light posts on the island of the hub that have white glass spheres. And at first you're gonna think there are 12, but there are actually 13. There's a little one here, right over by the Donald statue. So a bunch of us guessed wrong. And so if you text the wrong number, it just doesn't give you a response. You have to send the correct number and then it will send you your clue. So then my next clue, the gates into Tomorrowland. At the top of the gate, there's a horizontal cross beam on each of the 2 doors, and there are a number of square bolts, or square washers for bolts. You need to count the number of square bolts on top of both doors, multiply by, I forget how much, and send them the number. And again, they trick you because on one door there are 48 and on the other door there are 50. So if you just count one, you miss it. So now for our third clue, we're heading over to Tom Sawyer's Island, between Tom Sawyer's Island and Tiana's. We're gonna see what we need to do over there. All right, for this next one, I think I actually have to go on the ferry across to Tom Sawyer's Island. It says, on Tom Sawyer's Island, across from Tiana's Bayou Adventure, count the logs in the pyramid shape next to the Acme blasting caps box and then multiply that number by 55. So I think we have to go get on a boat. All right, I didn't have to get all the way on a raft. It's not in front of Tiana's Bayou Adventure like I thought. It's in front of Tiana's Palace. It's right in front of the stage where they do Phantasmic. There are some logs next to a TNT box. Gotta count the number of logs, divide by 5. Got the correct answer, and now I have my next waypoint. Find the Adventurelander on the bridge over the pond next to Big Thunder Mountain. What is the number on the parasol? And multiply by 33. So now I gotta go hunt down an actual person. Got it correct, and now I'm heading over to Tinkerbell's Grotto over at Pixie Hollow. I need to count the number of spouts in a fountain. All right, so here at the fountain, there are 24 little spouts. It almost looks like 23. If you look at the perimeter, there are 23, but there's also one little one that's a little difficult to spot. So again, this one's a little bit tricky, but I got the correct answer, and it's given me my next clue. My next clue is near the Bigfoot imprint, directly across from Pixie Hollow, next to Matterhorn. What number is on the Adventurelander's parasol? So another Adventurelander I have to go and find near the Matterhorn. So this one wasn't very difficult. From Pixie Hollow, I could look across the way and see the Adventurelander with the parasol. Now for the next challenge. Okay, so the next question is to count the number of cylinder lamps underneath the monorail between Pixie Hollow and the submarines. And I'm going to assume they mean these little yellow things. So let's see how many there are. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, the correct answer was 4. Our next clue, clue number 8. Starting from Small World backlot. Oh, gotta go all the way to Small World now. How many acorn-shaped glass lights, acorn-shaped glass lights are in a continuous line pointed up directly in front of the ride? Multiply that number by 133. So let's head to Small World. I got 9. There are some across the street too, but it says directly in front of the ride. So I'm going to assume that means one's just on the ride side of the street. So I'm going to enter 9. The correct answer was 9. For the next challenge, the next clue, clue number 9, leads us to the Toontown population sign. Specifically, it reads, the population counter to Mickey's Toontown keeps track of the numbers. Keep track of all the numbers on the 1st, 5th, and 7th wheel. Add those numbers up and multiply by 403. This one was fun because you had to sit there and watch the sign move and make sure that you got all the numbers. So you had to look at all of the numbers on the 1st, 5th, and 7th wheels. Each wheel has 3 numbers on it. So for the first wheel, the numbers are 0, 8, and 9 for a total of 17. For the 5th wheel, numbers are 5, 1, and 2 for a total of 8. And on the 7th wheel, the numbers are 0, 1, and 3 for a total of 4. So then you add 17 plus 8 plus 4, that's 29. You multiply that by 403 and you get 11,687, and that was the correct number. And I've received what I believe is the final clue. Starting from Fantasyland, going into Frontierland. Find the Adventurelander with a parasol, what's on the number, and multiply by 606. I wasn't able to get video of the 10th clue parasol, but the number was 34. So now they sent you a little decoder book to decode the location of the treasure spot. And it is in Galaxy's Edge. It is 2:10. That took a little over an hour. I spent some extra time filming and getting B-roll, so that's why I'm a little bit late. I hope they still have some pins left. Be nice to start my Adventureland Day pin collection. All right, so the treasure spot was here in Galaxy's Edge at the outside of the market. I got my Adventureland Day pin, so that was fun. It took a little over 2 hours, and a little bit of walking, a little bit of math. It's not to like. I don't know what other events they have scheduled for today. I think at this point people are probably going to start splitting up and going their separate ways and enjoying the rest of their Disney day in their own particular manner. So I am going to sign off here. Overall, I had a great time. I'm definitely coming back and doing this again. The Flash performed as expected. It's nearly point and shoot, ridiculously easy to use. It still requires a little bit of thought. You'll still get a few shots that don't quite come out the way you want. You're gonna have to adjust a setting, your shutter speed, your ISO, your flash output, or your aperture. But really, really fun. I got a lot of really, really fun photos. Thank you to all of the people who allowed me to A, take their photo, and B, gave me permission to post their photos. So this was a success. I can't wait till the next one. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.